Daniel Jones is being benched for Tommy DeVito. If you watched our NFL show 2 weeks ago, I asked Drew a snap judgment question, and I said, "Hey, how many weeks or what week until Drew Lock starts?" And I meant Drew Lock. I did not mean Tommy DeVito. But this apparently is the way that the New York Giants are going to be going, and that's hey man, that's up to you. That's your decision. So this one is just surprising. The Giants jumped with Drew Lock and said that he was the second string as soon as they signed him in free agency this past offseason. And he's been the number two this entire time, while Tommy DeVito's been the backup, the emergency third quarterback. So I guess that's cool. But Tommy DeVito is kind of a fan favorite from last year. He went 3-3 when he played, and I'm not sure if this is a tanking idea for him because I think Drew Lock could probably pull out a couple of games for the New York Giants. Now, the
100%.
question is for the New York Giants, where is this season going? What does it look like after that for the GM, the head coach, Daniel Jones, and the organization as a whole? Starting off with the season, again, Tommy DeVito is going to be starting. I'm not sure how successful that he's really going to be. I'm not a Tommy DeVito stan where I'm going to be like, hey, yeah, this guy's going to be winning a couple. This is clearly a move. So New York doesn't pick up a bunch of games. I say that, but New York went from like the 1 seed or the 2 seed to then dropping when Tommy won 3 games, ended up dropping them lower down the board. You got Malik Neighbors as a consolation prize. I'm sure you're perfectly fine with that, but you could have had a quarterback if you would have stayed inside that top 3 range. But that's the outlook for the rest of the season. Past that, Drew, where do you think what's the story with Daniel Jones going forward and the head coach and the GM? Where's this really going?
Well, first of all, I just want to ask you, how excited how excited are you on Thanksgiving? You're going to be sitting there, you're going to have a plate of turkey, some mashed potatoes, cranberry, rolls, whatever you get into, maybe McDonald's, who knows? I don't judge. To sit down and watch Tommy DeVito versus Trey Lance on Thanksgiving Day. How excited are you for that? Cuz that's got my blood pumping.
That hey, it's gonna get most of America
I
pumping
saw
because they're still gonna be breaking records for some reason.
Yeah, I saw hella people complaining that the Monday Night Football game wasn't flexed, that they didn't take the Cowboys Texans game off of Monday Night Football. I was like, do you guys know how many stupid people watch Dallas Cowboys football? They ain't never getting flexed.
Yep.
I don't care. Like they can raise up Ben DiNucci from the grave next week to come play quarterback for them, and they are not getting
Yep.
flexed. The Cowboys, millions and millions and millions of people. Not 120 million people that watched Mike Tyson plot around a ring for 8 rounds, but millions of people watched that game. So now let me get us back on topic here. This is very simple. Daniel Jones is going to be cut in the offseason. He has an injury provision in his contract. That's why he's the third string quarterback
Yep.
now. They're not going to allow him to be injured in any type of way. They probably aren't even going to have him do many practice reps. They do not want this man to get injured. He'll be cut. There's already Vegas odds out for his next team, which is weird because the second highest Vegas odds team for Daniel Jones is the 49ers. Ew, gross. No, thank you.
Wow.
And yeah, I just that this is what it is, and this is tanking in the NFL. And oh boy, I think Dayball's probably done in the offseason. I don't know if they're trying to lure Coach Prime and Shador to New York, but you know, I don't know. Clearly, the Giants need to blow this whole thing
Yeah.
up. They got one piece. They got a running back. Oh, I'm sorry. They got a couple of pieces on defense because they got one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL, and they got a really good corner. And obviously, they got Malik Neighbors, but there's nothing else left out there.
Yeah.
So this is the end of the Daniel Jones era. I don't know why the hell they paid him to begin with, but I think they're going to take a $28 million cap hit when they cut him. But it just is what it is. You got to eat it if you want to be serious for contention next year. And he's clearly not the answer.
Oh yeah.
I'm honestly a big fan of the player. I think he can throw the ball pretty well when he's given time and he can move around a little bit. I think he has good instincts, but it hasn't worked out and he hasn't put his best film on tape. So it's time to move on.
Yeah, I think the outlook for Dayball is definitely he has a history of developing quarterbacks, starting quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts to Alabama, Josh Allen experiment in Buffalo, obviously wildly successful. And then 2 seasons ago, his 2022 season only continued to try to reinforce that, where Daniel Jones actually played well and got the Giants off to a 6-1 start, and then they ended up winning a playoff game in Minnesota. And Daniel Jones is still the only starting NFC quarterback to be under center while defeating the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson under center. So the thing, he still remains the only one there. I think Brian Daboll is definitely a good head coach. I think he could do a lot there. I just think that this is definitely a full overhaul situation, unfortunately, even with the GM as well. Joe Shane, his decisions with Daniel Jones and signing him, he was put at a crossroads of either picking up his fifth option or signing him to a contract. Obviously, decisions are made, and it is what it is at this point. But even the draft picks haven't been wildly successful. Kayvon Thibodeau, Evan Neal, Wandell Robinson was his first 3 draft picks, so kind of either really, really not good or super, super middle of the road. His second draft, Deontay Banks, who had a good rookie year, but is not great. John Michael Schmidt, who's okay, and then Jalen Hyatt, who's just not very good. But this last draft is proving pretty fruitful, at least up to this point. Neighbors, Newbin, Phillips, and then they also have Theo Johnson, who looks pretty good at tight end so far, and then Tyrone Tracy, who's starting for him, and he looks pretty good. So this draft, their first 5 picks is pretty good, but those first 2 drafts as a whole, not great. So I think both GM and head coach could be let go out the door. As unfortunate as it could be, the GM hasn't done a great job with the draft. I think that Dayball is going to get another opportunity in the league somewhere at some point. It just might not be immediately, and it's not going to be with the New York Giants.
Yeah, I mean, Dayball, pencil him in for offensive coordinators if Bill Belichick gets a job, or if Mike Vrabel gets a job, or if Deion Sanders gets a job. Um, he's he's a talented offensive coordinator for sure. So yeah, it just you don't get a chance to make a quarterback pick and a head coach pick and get them wrong. We saw that with the Jets today. Obviously,
Yeah,
Robert Sala and Zach Wilson both hired by their GM, and it didn't work out, so he's no longer with them.
absolutely.